In the preface to the book, and then again in the conclusion at some length, there is a report about the meetings that were held a couple of years ago in September at the Banff Springs Hotel. Now, thanks to Dr. Janine Brodie, Janine, hold your hand up, the brilliant Canadian political scientist, thanks to her, I got my hands on the list of people who attended that conference and the agenda. And they're all in this book. All these names are in the book. Unimportant names like George Shultz, former U.S. Secretary of State, and a couple of other Secretaries of State, Peter Lougheed, et cetera, Donald Rumsfeld's chief assistants, people from the Canadian, from Stephen Harper's cabinet, and a long, long list. And the integration of Canada was the main topic of these meetings, and these meetings were secret. They were so secret that these people hired a public relations firm to counsel those in attendance to be able to not talk to the media and keep it quiet. And again, when you read the list, you'll say, how could a conference like this at the Banff Springs Hotel go on without the whole world knowing about it and being concerned about it? Nobody knew who paid for the conference. Nobody knew what they decided at the conference. Subsequently, about 6 months later, a very good reporter, Kelly Patterson from the Ottawa Citizen, through an access to information request, got some more information about it. I sent Peter Newman the agenda for this conference and the participants, and he was just as worried as I was, because again, what were they talking about? The integration of Canada further into the United States, something called deep integration or NAFTA plus or whatever. Essentially what it would mean like Canada becoming more and more of a colony of the United States and Canadians having less and less control over our own natural resources, etc. I sent this out to all the media, to CBC television, CTV television, to Global, to the National Post, to the Globe and Mail, to the Vancouver Sun, etc. And they all, every one of them, ignored the story. Now, what does that tell you about the media in this country? What does it tell you about the quality of information you are getting in the media of this country? Peter C. Newman, I sent him the stuff, and he wrote me back, and I've got the quote in the book. He said that, Mel, I got in touch with people that I trusted, and people who I know trusted me, and to a one, not one of them was willing to answer any questions about those secret meetings. And incredibly, those secret meetings are going on today, and the details of those meetings are in the conclusion of this book. Well, I think you all know that I think we're incredibly lucky to live in this country, but I wrote this book because I think the country is in big trouble, more so than ever before. The country, several main themes in the book. Theme number one, how Canada has changed from the country that it used to be. There was a letter in the Globe and Mail the other day, and I just clipped the bottom of it out. This person from Westmount, Quebec says, I scarcely recognize my country anymore. The problem is that the things that you will read in my book, most Canadians have never heard of, and most Canadians aren't aware of. And I'll read you some of the highlights of the things I have found disturbing, and I know that you will find disturbing as well. And my theory is that if we keep going the way we have been going under Mulroney and under Chrétien and under Paul Martin and under Stephen Harper, the chances of this country surviving as a really vibrant, exciting, democratic, healthy, wealthy country are remote or close to non-existent. I'm going to just stop there and give you some of the interesting things that you might find interesting. How many of you in this room remember the time when in the House of Commons 19 years ago, we had an all-party resolution saying, a unanimous resolution saying, we're going to abolish child poverty in Canada by the year 2000. Okay, everybody remembers that. So today, with the 9th biggest gross domestic product of any country in the world, and in the interval between that House of Commons resolution and today, our gross domestic product has more than doubled. Our rate of child poverty in this country is exactly the same as it was 19 years ago. What does that tell you about our politicians? What does it tell you about their priorities? We've got this enormous amount of wealth. I think $900 billion was the increase in GDP, and the rate of child poverty is 4 times, 5 times, 3 times, twice as much as many other countries around the world that have, and many, by the way, many of the countries that with much lower rates of child poverty in this country compared to our country also have a better record of competitiveness and a better record of productivity, and they also have somewhat higher taxes as well. Quite exactly the contrary of any junk that you read from the Conference Board of the C.D. Howe Institute, etc. So, in terms of poverty in general, not just child poverty, as you know, there are 50 countries in the OECD, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. 50 countries. We're 22nd in terms of poverty. There are 21 countries have lower rates of overall poverty than we do in Canada. An affluent country like Canada, does that in any way make you proud to be Canadians? Does that in any way make you incredulous about the quality and the intentions of our government people, of our elected officials? Now look, if we have high rates of child poverty and high rates of adult poverty that are among the highest in the developed world, wouldn't you think, as a result, we would have to have a pretty significant rate of social spending? Because after all, Stephen Harper tells you we are social spenders like one of those northern welfare countries. High rates of social spending. Of the 30 OECD countries, we are 25th. There are 24 other countries that have a better rate of social spending as a percentage of gross domestic product than we do in Canada. Now let's see, why have we got so much poverty in this country with so much natural resources and so much affluence all around us? Try this. Low-pay jobs. Oh yeah, sure, Mr. Hertig. Don't you know that the unemployment rate in Canada is very, very low? Yes, it is. But low-pay jobs, 21% of all the jobs in Canada are low-pay jobs. People who earn money from full-time jobs that don't get enough money from their jobs to look after their children, to clothe their children, to have proper housing, to have proper food, etc. By the way, that compares with the similar figures in the European Union of only 8 to 12%. Well, remember, Mr. Hertig, we also have unemployment insurance in this country, ridiculously called employment insurance. Now, in 1980, 86% of all Canadians who were unemployed received unemployment insurance benefits. Today, it's under 40%. It's less than half. And of those who are getting benefits, in a list of 30 countries, we're 22nd in terms of the amount those benefits are as a percentage of lost income. What about Mr. Hertig? What about welfare? You know, we have welfare. The true rates of welfare received by unfortunate people who have to live on incredibly low welfare is roughly, let's see, what is it now? It's far below the actual rates of welfare recipients received way back in 1980.